AI would be a very obvious thing, but not so fun. I think it's a trend that not everyone still sees, but I think it's going to be very obvious soon. Is we're kind of getting back to hardware being the king, because for a while we overbuild a lot of hardware and the software was steamed because you had all this capacity of hardware that you had to make use of. And now we pretty much extended all of it. And now hardware is back to being king. I think it's a big trend that we also see in Ukraine, where historically everyone wanted to be a software engineer. Now there is a huge need of hardware engineers, and the salaries rise. You never have enough. Pretty much hardware engineer, embedded engineers are some of the most kind of thought after employees, that if you find one that is good, you just hire it, even if you might not yet have a job for it, because you might never, or it might be a very long time until you hire. So you can already see it. It's a huge trend of there is a huge need of embedded engineers, because we're back to with the basics, building the core underlying kind of technology that runs the world. So I think that is the huge trend, and that in the coming years is going to be becoming more and more obvious. I think we always had to do with less money being available than everyone else, and I think it has a lot of its own perks, but there are also some downsides to it. To that, the perks being, you can deliver more with less, and you can start generating revenue earlier than everyone else. You don't have the ability or the resources to be wasteful. So you need to be very agile, very focused, only really doing and going towards what is actually needed. But on the other side, you have to take a bit less risk, or a lot less risk, because you don't have a bit of an overblown budget that you need to work with. You also, sometimes when you do get the budgets and you finally get to like bigger investments and you get there, you already build a business around being very, very, it's not stingy with money, just in generally very accurate with money. And now you have the budgets, and now you need to deploy en masse. But for many years, you already were focused on being as protective of the budgets that you have. And now when you have tens or hundreds of millions potentially to deploy, it's a huge kind of change that needs to happen inside of the team, inside of the management team, that now you do have the budgets. Now you need to actually spend well and take risks and do a lot of A/B testing and so on. And so those two things kind of coexist in a let's say, traditional Ukrainian tech startup, where there are a lot of perks, there are certain downsides, but I think the downsides you can kind of overcome. It's more of a learning curve where, we now actually do have the money. Cool, let's learn how to use them in mass. But it's very often that you see talking to potential customers, investors outside of Ukraine, where it's very hard for them to believe that you reached achieved so much with so little. Sometimes I would do it and be like, okay, we achieved actually this, and I only talk about all the future achievements later on. So there's some learning curve for the investor, for the customer, about the product you built. Sometimes when you oversell too much, it might seem like you imagined it, right? It's not true, but you don't want that thing to be true for your customers. It's always true, right? That when there is a need, there is a way. And I think Ukraine in the last 3 years is the best showcase. The miracle of Ukrainian defense industry and just innovation that's been going on for the last 3 years is not, it's obviously very much connected to the full-scale vision that we have it. And I think an important short-term outcome of that, and mid-term outcome, is that we are able, while being less funded as a country, having much less people, we're able to pretty much have a stronger hand, because we know that there are much more Russians dying in this war than Ukrainians as of right now, 3 years into the war, which was supposed to be a 3-day war, right? Because we're able to deliver the products much quicker, we're able to validate a lot of things. There is a real competitive commercial market in the defense industry in Ukraine. But I think another long-term outcome of that, and I think defense industry will become an economical kind of revival thing for Ukraine. I think from last year's statistics, it's like the third of the entire GDP growth of Ukraine was in defense. You take the whole economy of Ukraine, it was, I think, 4.5% growth or something. We have a growing economy during the full-scale invasion, and like 1.5% of that, I think, was defense. And that's without us being able to export almost anything. This is just internal. So I think it's going to be a huge piece of the Ukrainian economical growth. And if I can help with that, and part of what UCDI does is focused on bringing together the private defense industry, both, let's say, navigating, helping the industry grow inside of Ukraine by navigating the government bureaucracy and helping with that by connecting different companies to each other for them to create joint solutions. But also a big focus is on international expansion. Was just opening the export. It's a big part. That's something we need to do in Ukraine, but also helping Ukrainian companies connect to international partners, both to do something and bring something to Ukraine for our defense and security here, but also bringing Ukrainian companies to the international markets to generate the revenue, bring those, taxes and then revenues into Ukraine for the Ukrainian economy. And I've been there from the beginning. The ecosystem association kind of came in, which I represent in the CDI, came in early on as one of the founding members when the CDI was trying to kind of get everyone together. It's a very traditional thing in Ukraine where you have many different associations and trying to do and unions trying to do similar things, and it's usually historically a hard thing to bring many of those in one place. And so that's kind of what we in CDI try to do. So far, I would say mostly successfully, and I think it's going in the right direction because we also saw in many countries that defense innovation first, then brings innovation into the special use markets and then civilian and commercial markets. And it's a very kind of natural process where something that starts and is created for defense then goes into mass markets. And I think it can be, and it will be a huge economical boost for Ukraine. My first year of uni was already in Canada, right after I graduated high school. And it was a couple of years after I was, as a high school student, participating in Maidan. And after leaving the classes, we would have a choice. We can go and see the new movie in the cinema, or we can go and, help build barricades, or I learned how to make Molotov cocktails on Maidan that winter. And then a couple years later, I come to Canada, and it's kind of like the things that make the people that move people, that people care about, worry about, on very different level of the pyramid of needs, right? So, it's hard for me to associate myself as what people are thinking about, what people look forward to, what the current problems that society deals with. And so I think it just was kind of a certain level of dissociation. You want to live somewhere where you kind of connected with people, you feel you understand them, right? And they understand you, and it just was not happening. It wasn't bad in any way. It was just, I came from a country that just went through this entire, and the society that went through this entire arc of, in a way, being created, right? I would say 2014 was, in a way, a rebirth of Ukraine in many ways. And you come to a country where all those people don't understand you at all. And so I think that this was probably one of more things. None of those would constitute, for me, the decision to be like, yeah, I need to move back to Ukraine. I also actually didn't move first back to Ukraine. I first moved to Italy, studying another university, kind of a bit closer. And only then I moved to Ukraine. So it was a two-step process in that. But in general, yeah, it's just something that didn't ring the bell. I needed to be closer to what makes sense, for the people that I cared, to the, let's say, society that I feel part of. What I love the most about Kiev is that I think it's both the place that has the most variety in the people, in the everything, in architecture, in the activities you can do, but it's also very unassuming. From the people are very, how to say it correctly, you also are not expected to be anything. So it's very, I don't think I've been to another place where it's both, where you can be whatever you want, kind of nobody, there's no expectation of you, dressing a certain way. There's no expectation of you and on doing certain things, but also you can do whatever you want. Like there is, I don't know, even during the full-scale invasion, there were parts of there was a Saturday where I would go swim in the river and sunbathe in the morning, and then I have lunch at, I don't know, work lunch at a fancy restaurant, and then in the evening I would, I don't know, go dance somewhere, right? It's like, it's rarely you can do all those things in one place in a single day. And that's all, you have all this ability to have good time, spend time with friends and family and all those activities while having a very strong, entrepreneurial drive, technological base. So, historically, it's like you either have one or the other and so on. In Kiev, you can do good work, generate a great venture with the very smart people, but you also have all this ability to just spend time and go into the countryside and have all these beautiful places. And all of that without anyone at any point expecting that of you. You have that motivation, right? It's, you wake up in the morning and you have a very clear understanding of why you have to go and do your job well. There's this entire thing about people wanted take a sabbatical because they burnt out and they don't know why they're doing the things they're doing, and all of that, right? That doesn't happen in the job that I do. We want to help people that we work with. We want to help our government protect ourselves better, and you want to, through our help, hopefully save lives. And that's basically, I think that's all you need. And also, it's, I think working in tech in Ukraine right now, specifically helping a lot of the kind of the users that we work with in Ukraine, is a very good combination. You're relatively safe compared to if we would, for example, the opposite, and if I wouldn't be working on Himera. And I like to say that, right now I'm able to say that, and I hope that would also be true, that I think I would be in the military. We need to go and protect our country. But I'm able to help our country other ways by doing the work that I'm doing while being in a relative safety, having very direct motivation, and also, being able to work with other smart, amazing people doing this job. And I think it's a very unique place and very great position to be in the West. I think the organizations like Razom already very obviously helping Ukraine, and it's pretty much comes to the, there's the way which I heard people describing, right, that Ukrainian miracle of basically having this horizontal structure of cooperation. And we very much saw it in the beginning of the full-scale invasion, where a very big reason why Ukraine were able to sustain itself is not because we had very strong government doing a lot of the things we did, and it's a part of this of the story, but a very big part was that there were just people who were able to and were willing to donate things. There were people who were willing to volunteer, and I still remember, there was this, I don't know how how true is the story, but there was let's say a going anecdote in the first weeks of the full-scale invasion, in between different volunteers, that there was at some point some fund got a call about the guy who had those concrete roadblock, or like there's the huge pieces of cement that you block the road with, and there was like a call from a random guy that it wasn't like a company or anything, who had like 50 of them in his hangar somewhere. And you're like, why do we have them? He's like, yeah, if somebody can come and take them, please use them. And it was like, it's a very weird situation of why you have them, but he also is very willing to donate all of them. Again, I don't know how true is the story, but it's very, I think, representative of the general approach in Ukraine. Like we people who like to, store things, but we're also very willing to give them in the times of need and share them horizontally. And think that kind of in generally, that's why organizations that combine the effort of people and the money of people, and then go directly to the end users. Don't go through traditional means, through the top of the government or the local governments, but go as low as possible while still having still able to work with kind of bigger picture. I think that's what Razom does. I think it's a very important kind of thing that allows to make, through very efficient money infusion, sometimes very efficient trainings and very efficient projects, can do something with almost the same resources as before, but make it a much more efficient project. And I very like the thing you're doing with the supporting the Ukrainian culture and that part. The Heroes project that we part of at Himera, I do believe and I do see a huge influence it's making on the people we work and that we can help with that we can help with the help of Razom.